Did you know some royal women gave birth to over a dozen children in history? Their wombs were more powerful than swords. 4. Kings and empires' fertility wasn't just personal. It was political. A queen's body was expected to produce heirs. Lots of them. There. Success or failure could decide the future of entire nations today. We'll uncover the lives of 7 royal women known for their extreme fertility. Some were celebrated, some were broken, but all of them shaped history one child at a time. Catherine de' Medici was born into one of the richest families in Italy, but her real fame came when she became Queen of France, married to King Henry II. At first, people didn't take her seriously. She was foreign, quiet, and worst of all, childless in the royal court. That was dangerous. A queen was expected to deal with the king's sons quickly. When she didn't, rumors spread. People called her barren. Some even wanted the king to replace her, desperate to get pregnant. Catherine turned to strange remedies. She drank potions made by alchemists. She even used strange mixtures like mule's urine and cow dung. Some say she slept with charms under her pillow, hoping for a miracle. Finally, after 10 long years of waiting, she gave birth to her first child. And then the floodgates opened. Catherine would go on to have 10 children in total. Out of those, 3 became kings of France: Francis II, Charles IX, and Henry III. That alone made her one of the most fertile and politically powerful royal women in European history. But it didn't end with childbirth. After her husband died, Catherine ruled France as regent for her young sons. She became one of the most influential figures in 16th century Europe. Her children's reigns were full of conflict, especially between Catholics and Protestants. But Catherine pulled strings behind the scenes. Her ability to produce heirs kept the Valois dynasty alive for decades longer than anyone expected. Catherine's womb saved the throne, and her mind helped hold it together. Maria Theresa wasn't just an empress. She was a dynasty builder. Born in 1717, she ruled the Habsburg Empire for 40 years and gave birth to 16 children along the way. Her marriage to Francis I was full of affection. Unlike many royal couples, they genuinely loved each other. Together, they became one of the most productive royal pairs in history in both power and parenthood. Out of their 16 children, 13 survived into adulthood. That was rare in the 18th century. She didn't just raise children, she raised strategic pieces on the chessboard of Europe. One daughter, Marie Antoinette, became the Queen of France and later lost her head in the French Revolution. Another, Maria Carolina, married the King of Naples. Her sons ruled in Austria, Bohemia, and Tuscany. Each child extended the Habsburg influence across royal courts. Maria Theresa understood this well too. Her giving birth wasn't only about family, it was statecraft. She once said, "I have made the sacrifice of my own happiness to the interests of my children and my empire." But it wasn't easy. She suffered heartbreaks too. Early deaths, political betrayals, and endless pressure to maintain power. Even so, she managed to rule as a strong, reform-minded empress while bearing child after child. She wasn't just the mother of her children. She was often called the mother-in-law of Europe. In a time when a queen's worth was often tied to fertility, Maria Theresa made hers a tool of empire and left behind a royal web that reshaped European history. And the story is one of deep sadness. She was the last monarch of the House of Stuart and the first to rule over both England and Scotland as one kingdom. But behind the crown was a woman who suffered more loss than most could imagine. She married Prince George of Denmark. In 1683, their marriage was happy by royal standards. George was gentle and devoted, but their shared joy was always followed by heartbreak. Anne became pregnant at least 17 times, but nearly all those pregnancies ended in tragedy. She had 12 miscarriages or stillbirths. A few babies were born alive, but died within hours or days. Only one child, Prince William, Duke of Gloucester, survived past infancy. Even he died at age 11. Anne watched her children die one by one. There were no modern doctors, no support. For women like her, only pressure to produce a living male heir. It was not just a personal tragedy. It became a national crisis. Without a surviving child, the question of who would rule after Anne caused panic across the kingdom. England feared a Catholic monarch would return to the throne. So, Parliament passed the Act of Settlement in 1701. It said that only Protestants could inherit the crown. When Anne died in 1714, the throne passed not to one of her close relatives, but to George I of Hanover, a distant German cousin. This marked the start of the Hanoverian dynasty, on as many pregnancies and many losses changed British history. Her womb became the battleground for succession, and in the end, her failure to provide an heir ended her family's rule and shaped the monarchy for centuries to come. Mumtaz Mahal was not just a queen, she was a symbol of love, loyalty, and loss. Born as Arjaman Banu Begum, she became the beloved wife of Shah Jahan, the Mughal emperor of India he loved. Her deeply, she was his most trusted partner, and he took her everywhere, even on military campaigns. But behind their legendary love story was something less romantic. Mumtaz was constantly pregnant. She gave birth to 14 children over the course of 19 years. That's almost a pregnancy every single year. At a time when childbirth was dangerous, every pregnancy was a risk. Mumtaz endured pain, exhaustion, and endless pressure. She was expected to produce sons for the empire, strong heirs to continue the Mughal line. Her final pregnancy was her last in 1631. While giving birth to her 14th child, she died due to complications. She was only 38 years old. Shah Jahan was devastated. He mourned for months, and it said he turned gray overnight. To honor her, he built the Taj Mahal, one of the most famous monuments in the world. It wasn't just a tomb, it was a symbol of her sacrifice. But behind its white marble walls lies the story of a woman who gave everything, her youth, her body, and her life to love, empire, and duty. Mumtaz Mahal's story reminds us that royal women were more than just ornaments in a palace. They were mothers, often pushed to the edge, all for the sake of legacy. Anne of Brittany was no ordinary queen. She was crowned twice, married first to King Charles VIII, then to his successor Louis XII, that made her the only woman to be Queen of France 2 times. But even with that power, her real duty was something else. To have children and fasten just a few short years. Anne went through 6 pregnancies. She gave birth again and again, often while still mourning the last child she had lost. It was a brutal cycle. Several of her babies died in infancy. Others didn't survive long after birth. Some never even made it into the world alive. The royal court watched her belly more than her crown. They didn't care if she ruled wisely or spoke with grace. They cared if she could produce a strong, healthy male heir. That was the pressure she lived with every single day. Each loss hit her hard, but she never gave up. Even after repeated heartbreak, she kept trying, because failure didn't just mean personal pain. It meant her marriage, her duchy, and her place in history were all at risk. Anne's story isn't just about children. It's about what it meant to be a royal woman in a world where your value was measured by your womb. Behind the jewels and gowns was a woman fighting to survive her own destiny. Eleanor of Castile was the queen consort of England. She married Edward I in 1254, and together they ruled not only with strength, but with numbers. Eleanor gave birth to 16 children, though sadly only a few survived into adulthood. Even so, her legacy as a fertile royal woman left a lasting mark on English history. In the medieval world, a queen's most important job was to produce heirs, especially male ones. Eleanor did more than that. Her children helped secure alliances, strengthen royal bloodlines, and expand Edward's influence. While kings fought wars and built castles, queens like Eleanor were busy building dynasties. But Eleanor wasn't just a royal baby maker. She was smart, politically aware, and deeply trusted by Edward. In fact, they shared a rare thing in royal marriages: genuine affection. Edward took her with him on military campaigns, even during pregnancy. She gave birth in castles on the road and sometimes in foreign lands. Her life was one of constant travel, danger, and childbirth. Eleanor's story is a powerful example of medieval royal fertility. 16 children meant 16 pregnancies, 16 chances for illness, and 16 moments where her life was at risk. Yet she carried on, shaping England's future from behind the throne. When she died in 1290, Edward mourned deeply. He even built stone crosses at every spot her funeral procession stopped. Known today as the Eleanor crosses Eleanor of Castile. May not be as famous as her husband, but her fertility and strength helped build a royal empire. She was a queen who lived in the shadows of power, but whose influence reached far beyond the nursery. Let's begin with Maria Carolina of Austria, one of the most fertile royal women in European history. Born into the powerful Habsburg family, she was the sister of Marie Antoinette, but unlike her more famous sibling, Maria Carolina left her mark through motherhood. She became Queen of Naples and Sicily after marrying King Ferdinand IV. Her role was clear from the start: produce heirs for the Bourbon dynasty. And she did over the course of her life. Maria Carolina gave birth to 17 children. That's nearly 2 decades of being pregnant, nursing, and recovering. It wasn't just biology, it was duty. Her fertility helped secure her family's grip on the throne. Some of her children went on to marry into other royal families, spreading her influence across Europe. But her story isn't just numbers. Maria Carolina was also politically active. She advised her husband, built alliances, and helped modernize her kingdom. Still behind the scenes, her body paid the price. Many of her children died young, and she suffered the grief again and again. That was the cruel reality of royal motherhood. Now, let's take a quick look at a legend, the tale of Margaret of Holland. A medieval noblewoman who supposedly gave birth to 365 children, all at once. In one day, the story claims they were baptized in a barrel. Of course, this is pure myth, likely created as satire or warning, but it shows how obsessed people once were with fertility, even turning it into folklore between real life. Queens like Maria Carolina and myths like Margaret, one truth stands out. Royal women were expected to create dynasties with their bodies, no matter the cost. In royal history, fertility wasn't just personal, it was political. A queen's value was often judged by the number of children she could bear. Each pregnancy was a duty, each child a potential heir or alliance. But behind the royal titles and crowns were real women who faced endless pregnancies, women who lost babies, suffered illness, and carried the heavy weight of expectations. Some were praised as powerful mothers, others were blamed when children died or never came. Legacy of these women still echoes today. Their children married across Europe, started wars, ended others, and shaped entire nations through bloodlines. Their influence traveled farther than any armies. As we look back on queens like Maria Theresa, Mumtaz Mahal, and Maria Carolina, we remember this. Behind every royal dynasty was a woman's body used, celebrated, and sometimes broken by history's demands.